So in this video, we will going to discuss about the decision making and branching. So basically the branching instructions which are classified as one is the conditional branch statement and the second one is unconditional branch statement. Then the statements that transfer control from one place to other place so as to execute a set of instructions. If some conditions are met, or to skip the execution of some statements, if the conditions are not met, is called the control branch statements. So that means when you are applying the condition, if the condition is true, then it will going to execute some conditions, some statements. And if the conditions is false, then the condition will going to skip. So such type of statements are called the conditional statements. So what are the various types of conditional statements we have? One is the simple if, that is the single selection or if statement. Then we have if-else statement, that is two-way selection. Then we have a nested, that means if in with if like that, that is the nested if statements. Then else if ladder, that is going up the multiple way of selection. And then the switch statement, that is if the condition is if you have various different sections, you have to go from one section to the other section. So without undergoing the conditions to pass, so we can go directly. So suppose if you have the grade A, grade B, grade C, grade D, and grade E, then the grade A is above 90% and grade B is above 75%. Like that, if the conditions have been considered, and if I say it is 90 or 91 marks has been obtained, then automatically it will comes to grade A. Suppose if the student is been getting around 60, then you need not have to pass to A, B, C, and all those things, so that you can directly go to that statement by considering the switch statement. So we are going to go in detail when we go for the actual cases. Now, first condition of this is the if statement, which is we call one-way selection, or just it is a decision making. When a set of statements have to be executed, when an expression is evaluated to true, so that means if the condition is satisfied, then it will going to execute some of the statements. Or when a set of statements has to be skipped, when an expression is evaluated to false, so that means it becomes 0. So 1 and 0, one is true and the other one is 0 when it becomes false. Then the if statement is used. It is used when we have only one alternative. Here it is also, which is called, it is the one-way selection, one-way decision statement. So what is the syntax for this? So we'll go to start with some executable statements of B statements. So what is the syntax for this? If the condition, as that is the expression, if I is less than, suppose if the number is odd or even, if I want to have that, then we need to n mod of 2. So that means the remainder should be equal to 0. Then it becomes even. If the remainder is odd, if the remainder is other than non-zero value, then it becomes the odd number. So then once if the if condition, the expression is written here, then it will goes into that if statement. And then we're going to execute the series of statements here. And then once the condition is met, once the condition is not met, so it will going to come out of this condition. So these are all the if conditions. Then it will start executing the further statements in the main program. So suppose if I consider an example, if A is greater than B, then what is the condition? If it is true, that is if it is 1. So that means A is greater. Then if the expression may have the side effects, that is the values of variables used in the expression may change during the execution of the program. So that means if plus count is greater than 10, then what is the side effect? The value of count is incremented by 1. Then in this condition, initially since we want to have the number, so initially the number has to be 0, then only it starts counting. So if count is equal to 0, then it goes to the next one. If count plus plus, that is count is equal to 0 plus count. So that means you have the count number 1. If 1 is greater than 10, yes, then count is equal to 0 plus 1, it becomes 1. So like that you can keep on incrementing. So when you go to the set of programs, then we are going to elaborate much on that. So the incremented value of count is compared with 10. So every time we need to counter that. But that means you are adding the counting, and then it will go to start the executing the program. So the point number 3, if multiple statements have to be executed when the expression is true, then all those statements are enclosed within the braces. So whatever they mean, what he is telling is, if the multiple statements have to be executed when the expression is true, if the condition is true here, then open the bracket and then write the set of instructions on the set of statements, and then you just close the braces. So then we have, if A is greater than B, what is the condition? If the A is greater than B, it is true. So that means it's 1. Then A is greater. Then you exit out of the if condition. So here, both statements of printf and exit must be executed. So then, whenever the value of A is greater than B, so they must be enclosed within these braces. Usage of braces is optional in the following examples. If A is greater than B, then printf A is greater. Write a program to print the message which is even or odd. So first we are going to include the header files of stdio.h, that is the input-output folder. Then we have include conio.h. Of course, when you are going for the program, here if you are using the C compiler, then we are going to have void even underscore odd intn. So we are considering one of the variables. So my condition, if the number if you are entered, then that number has to be either even or odd. When it will going to become even, if the remainder is 0, so after when it is divisible by 2, if the remainder becomes 0, then it is even. If it is non-zero value, then the remainder, then it becomes the odd. So what is the condition if it says if n mod 2 will be equal to 0, if the condition. So then you are entering into that statement block, then you say print which is even, because it is remainder is 2. When it is divisible by 2 and the remainder comes 0, then you will going to have the even number. Suppose if I say 4 divided by 2, so that means when you are dividing that, what will going to be the remainder? 2 into 2, it becomes 4. The 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. Therefore, since the condition is satisfied here, n mod of 2 will be equal to 0. Since it is equal to 0, then it comes to this and print even. So then it will go to return the value to the main program. Suppose if that condition is not met, so that means if the remainder is not equal to 0, then it becomes a number. Suppose if you are considering 3, 3 divided by 2 will be equal to 1, that will be 2 1s out. 2 will be equal to 3 minus 2 will be equal to 1. So since the remainder is 1, it is not equal to 0, therefore it prints odd, and then it goes to the return value. So this is how you will be able to print the given number, whether it is even or odd. So this is the main the sub program what we have written. Now we go for the main program. So what is the main program? Again, void and main. So here we are using the C compiler, so you are getting to use the void. Then open the braces, and then you have to write the clear screen when you are writing in this compiler. Of course, when you are going for codes, C codes, then we need not have to type the clear screen. I'm going to demonstrate that when I take up this program. So first I need to declare a variable. So which is the variable I'm trying to declare? I'm going to take the number. So since what is the main condition now? The main condition is when I enter a number, and if the if the number is divisible by 2 and the remainder becomes 0, then it becomes even. If it is not divisible by 2 and the remainder is 1, then it becomes odd. So since I want to enter the number, so what type of number I want to enter? I want to enter the number which is a integer. So that means a number which doesn't have a decimal point. So that is the main condition. So for that, which is the variable? We want to have the address as int. So that is the integer, where integer is a number wherein you will not have any decimal point. So then once I declare the number as one variable, in that what is the type of address which you have? It is an integer. So I need to enter the number now. Since I want to enter the number, so I will say printf enter the number. So I enter the number which is, I will going to enter that as 10. Let us say when you are running this program, you will going to get this automatically. So then I want to read that number. So what is that number? So the number what I want to enter, the number which I have entered is 10. So since it is an integer value, so then what is the address of that integer? It is %d. So you scan that number which is within the quotes %d and comma and the variable declaration which you are considered as n, so and %n. So then I need to call the function, which is that function even underscore odd. So that is there in the name of this program here. You have even underscore odd. So once you get that, so then immediately the control shifts over to the number 10 which I have entered here. So I will go to this, the control transfers to this. So the number is n is 10. Is 10 mod 2 is equal to 0. So that means when the number 10 which is divided by 2, if the remainder will going to become 0. So that means 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. So 2 into 5 will be equal to 10. 10 minus 10 will be equal to 0. So the remainder is 0. So since this condition is satisfied, so enter into this bracket. So then it prints it as an even number. So then it has to return this value, where actually that value has to be written. The value has to be written to the main program. So that is the reason why we are written here. And suppose if the number is not divisible by 2 and the remainder will not be equal to 0. In this case, say for example, if I are considering the number as 7, when you are considering the number 7 divided by 2, 2 into 3 becomes 6. So 7 minus 6 will be equal to 1. And when that condition is applied here, that is 1 the remainder, here the remainder has to be equal to 0 when the number is divisible by 2. So since this condition is not met, so it will not going into this braces, but instead it will comes out directly and then prints that number. The number which you have entered is an odd number. So again that value has to be returned to the main program. So that is the reason why we are giving return here. So now once you enter the number, so even odd, so then it comes to the output. What is the output? The condition is since the number 10 is the remainder 10 divided by 2 will be equal to 5, or 2 into 5 will be equal to 10. 10 minus 10 it becomes 0. So the remainder is 0. So therefore you will going to get the output as even. Suppose if I considering a number as 7. Once you are considering that 7, so enter the number, so you read that number here, and the cursor moves to the even odd. So then it goes into the subprogram or the function. So that it will going to operate according to the requirement or the conditions of this statement. So is 7 mod 2 will be equal to 0? So no, because 7 divided by 2, 2 3s are 6. So since you have the 7 minus 6 becomes 1. So since the remainder is not equal to 0, so it comes out and prints this odd. The number what you entered is an odd number. So again that has to be entered into the main program. So we are read. So this is how you will be able to write whether it is the given number is even or the odd number. So of course, obviously we should write the getch function. So that means after the executions of the program, that whatever the value and whichever the one which has been used for the calculation. So that it was to be retained. So for that, we'll go for the getCat function. So this is how you will be able to execute this program. So now we will try to do it by using the codes now, the C codes. So code blocks. So we'll go for file, I will go for new, I will go for empty file. So here I will include the header file. So that is include stdio.h. Then we have include, so we have ponyo.h. Then we want to have the main program. So before going into the main program, we go for the subprogram. So what is the main of the subprogram? Even underscore odd. Then I will enter that number which you want. So then I will just open into this flower brackets. Then what is the condition I want? The number what you are entering, which has to be divisible by 2 and the remainder has to be 0. So that means if the condition n% and that is the mod will be to 2, then it is equal to 0. So that means the remainder has to be 0. Then again it enters into the if condition. Sorry. Then here if condition. Then here what I need to do, I need to print that number, the printf. So we have printf. So what is that printf? The condition since it is divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0. So what is that? The number has to be even. So once you get that, of course, semicolon which you need to enter. So whatever that result which you have got, so that has to be transferred into the main program. So I will say return and semicolon. Once you get this, then I will just so since this condition is met now, written. Now I will going to come out of this. Suppose if the condition is this condition is not true, so that means if the remainder you are going to have a remainder which is equal to 1. So then since it is not equal to 0, so it will not come to this low. It will going to comes out of this and then it will try to execute this. So what is the condition? The condition is printf odd. Then so this value also has to be returned to the main program. So I will say return and then finally you close this. So this is how we will be able to write this program. Now I want to write the main program. I will say main. Then you just enter the flag brackets. Then I will say first I need to enter the number. So first the number which I want to enter has to be either a float variable or a integer. The number which I want to enter here will be an integer value. So the number which doesn't have a decimal point, like say for example I can say 10, 20, 30, 40 like that. If it is a float number, then it becomes 10.1, 10.2, 10.0 and all those things. So first I need to declare the number. So I will say intn. Once you do that, then I want to enter the number now. Since I want to enter the number, so I will say printf double quotes enter the number to check. So I will just come out of this. So once I enter the number, I need to read that number. I will say scanf. So I will say %d, then the address format %n, then semicolon. Once you read that number, what happens? So it should go to the checking. So where it will go? It has to go to the function now, the user defined function, that is even odd. So I will say even underscore odd n. Once you do that, so then once you get that value or once it is entering into that, After that, I want to close it because I need to return this value. So what I will do, it will come to the main program, and then I will say get ch functions. Then you just close this one. So this is how it will going to execute this program. So this is how we are going to write the program. Once you do that, now we are going to compile this. To compile this, I will say block, run this program. You just say yes. So ask this number. So you just save it and say yes. Now once you do that, so it will going to come to the execution now. Now the program is right. So it is asking for the number. I will say just 10. So it immediately says it is an even number. How it will go to execute? So the number when you enter, it will comes to this, then it goes to even odd. So the number is 10 is divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0. Yes. So it will enter into this and printf the even number. Then it will return to the main program. So get ch, you will go to get this. Similarly, if I want to build this program again, enter the number. I will say 7. So that is what we have considered in the program. So the number has to be odd. So what exactly it does now? The number enters 7. So then it reads that number and goes into the function now. Is 7 mod 2 is equal to 0. So that means the 7 divided by 2, the remainder is not equal to 0. Therefore, it will not go to this. It will comes to this block and printf the odd number. So then it will return to the main program and then get ch functions. It will going to work. So this is how it will going to execute this program. Similarly, if you want to have any other number, I will say 3001. Just the number. It should be an odd number. So this is how you will be able to execute this program. Thank you.